What's going on, everybody? So today we have a post by the New York Times here talking about World of Warcraft and other Blizzard games will be pulled from China. Now, I actually made a video literally recording a little while ago, a couple hours ago, recording a video on is Diablo Immortal in the worst state it's been, because that's a question or a statement that I've gotten a lot. And I actually think that it's in a really good state, but you guys will check out that video. But what's funny about it is this could really drastically change things, albeit we don't know how much it will affect things, because we can't say for sure certain whether or not Blizzard will be able to reacquire a new contract, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So basically right here, the title is exactly what it says, not clickbait here on the New York Times. Blizzard Entertainment is suspending most of its gaming services in China after failing to renew a licensing deal with NetEase. So for all of you out there that say NetEase is ruining the game, well, this could result in actually a very positive change, or actually even more negative change, depending on where they decide to go. Assuming that NetEase actually was in control of a lot of the things that we had problems with. If that gets to another company, they may change some of the processes, or it will actually result in Blizzard's hands, and maybe we'll get some changes for Diablo Immortal. Now, this article, there's a lot here. I'm not going to go ahead and read it all for you. I will leave it in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. But basically, Blizzard is it's not just Diablo Immortal, it's all the Diablo games, StarCraft, Overwatch, that type of stuff. And China is a massive component, not only in terms of player base for the gaming sphere, but also in terms of revenue generators for the gaming sphere. And you could see that in the US game developer said in a statement that I could not reach a deal with NetEase that was consistent with Blizzard's operating principles and commitments to players and employees. So you can see here, this actually might be a good thing. Let's just assume for a second that NetEase was the people, or were the people in control of a lot of these systems in the game that were akin to more of a gotcha mobile pay-to-win type game. If that's the case, then this statement, assuming it's true, is actually a good thing for Diablo Immortal, and it's going to suspend sales in China. However, as I mentioned, because it's, as they continue to say, the world's largest gaming market, it's actually going to be a massive hit to Blizzard. What's awkward about it is if we read further down, a lot of the other games in Blizzard's arsenal don't actually generate that much revenue. You can see here, for over a decade, these two companies have renewed their agreement every few years. And last year, China has been really hitting hard in terms of government crackdown. But regardless, if we continue onwards here, you can see the impact on Blizzard also appear to be limited. This is what I wanted to focus on here in terms of Diablo Immortal, because it says its biggest revenue generator, Diablo Immortal, an online role-playing game co-developed with NetEase, is excluded from the agreement. You can see here, NetEase online game has generated more revenue from mobile games. Other games such as Naraka Blade Point, the Westward Journey series, and Justice are its more lucrative products. The company reported that the percentage of total income in 2021 from Blizzard games was in the low single digits, which means that, as you can see, NetEase, I mean, they don't care. I mean, they're not breaking a sweat over this, man. They don't make any money from these games. However, it looks like licensing agreement made up 3% of Blizzard's net revenue in 2021, according to its quarterly report. I don't know what exactly this means by is excluded from the agreement. I'm not sure if that means it's excluded from the calculations, or if it's excluded from the agreement in terms of NetEase. But it seems to be, the way I interpret this at least, is that the impact is limited. Its biggest revenue generator, Diablo Immortal, is excluded, which means that if the impact on Blizzard is limited, Diablo Immortal won't get affected that much, because it's excluded from the licensing agreement. So perhaps it will stay around in China, no questions asked. But that, I'm still a little confused on here, because it doesn't really do a solid job on talking about Diablo Immortal specifically. I believe what this means specifically is that since it's excluded from the agreement here, it's not included in the revenue percentages here that they're calculating. And if that's the case, Diablo Immortal would make up a lot of the revenue here because, I mean, you can even see that his online games business has generated more revenues from mobile games. Diablo Immortal is the thing that's generating revenue for Blizzard. And to give you an idea here, just I have this open in another video, just to give you guys an idea. This is Diablo Immortal's revenue chart. Starting on day launch, June 1st, when it was early launched, up until the Chinese launch, which was early or late July, and then up until November 1st. So it's about a couple weeks out of date. But regardless, we're talking the rest of the world in blue here. The rest of the entire world, and then China in the green. And this is just a common graph and really kind of helps you understand what they mean by, oh, well, Blizzard games don't actually make us money. It's all about the mobile games. This is exactly why in China, in Asian cultures in general, it's generally way more acceptable to spend a lot of money on mobile games. And in fact, because their culture is actually very accepting of games at large, it's very, very encouraged, which is very different from the Western culture. A lot of it's focused in, at least in the United States here, on football, on baseball. That's way more exciting, way more prestigious. And games are kind of looked down upon as you're like an incel, you're, et cetera, et cetera. But for here, you could see this is just absolutely insane in terms of numbers. China is basically doubling the rest of the world's income. If you take an entire statement of this graph, they've basically doubled the income. And that's because, and they haven't even started at the same time that we did. So if they started at the same time we did, they probably would be 2.5 times much revenue for Diablo Immortal than the rest of the world, which is absolutely absurd. So when we see something like this, this is definitely something that is considering, talking about. And you can see down here, I forgot where it was because I did read through this whole thing. Right here, the breakout with NetEase does not require Blizzard's exit from China, analysts said. Before teaming up with NetEase in 2008, Blizzard worked with a distributor called the Nine. The American game developer could find another Chinese gaming publisher, such as Tencent, which could reissue Blizzard games in the country. A new partnership appear uncertain. Sure, private companies in China how closely to the Communist Party's priorities, even at the cost of Western collaboration. So what this means is this article doesn't necessitate Blizzard's exodus from China. The reason why is because Blizzard still has an opportunity to go pick up another contract. However, if they do not, they're out of luck, from what I'm hearing here. And it doesn't seem that it's guaranteed. Now, Tencent's a very, very popular mobile game developer as well, so I could definitely see something there if they want to pick up something like Diablo Immortal, at least. I think, for the most part, if you're looking at this from like a revenue standpoint, I'm not sure if Diablo Immortal is like part of a package in terms of Blizzard's licensing contracts. Like, hey, you could actually purchase rights for the entirety of our Blizzard games, things like World of Warcraft, things like Overwatch, things like StarCraft, or if it's the just singular games and they can dish these out as singular games. I'm sure they can, and it is a company if they get their board or whatever ready to go and they actually sell them essentially the rights to Diablo Immortal or for them to market Diablo Immortal in China. I think that's the game that people are looking at in terms of the Chinese market, right? That's the game that's going to make the money. That's the game that people want to play, which is actually a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing here. So it could be a very bad thing if Blizzard's not able to get Diablo Immortal back in China because they are responsible for more than double the revenue that Diablo Immortal has generated simply from China, and their player base is much larger than most of, if not all of the regions combined, which is just absurd. So, yep. I just think this is a really, really big deal, and this could potentially be really, really bad for Diablo Immortal, but contrary to my title here, it could actually be a very good thing depending on how this rolls out. If they're able to pick up another contract and they renegotiate sort of the limitations, again, I don't know what the contract had initially stated or the license agreement, but I don't know if NetEase was in control of anything. That's the assumption that a lot of people make because they're like, oh, well, Blizzard can't do much and Diablo Immortal is not as good because NetEase. But who knows? With this, and if they're not able to go ahead and renew their licensing agreement, and it's pure Blizzard's, problem, I guess you could say, which could be a good thing for the game's health. Who knows? we'll have to see. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I thought this was an interesting one because obviously I'm on the lookout for any news that might affect my future as a content creator in this game. And of course, I'm interested in seeing when we get new influx of players and things like that, or when things might just really, really dip down in terms of news or development of the game. So that's where we're at. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video, sub to the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all tomorrow.